This is Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews. Today there's a fresh wind in the compact SUV segment with the all-new Land Rover Discovery Sport. We're going to find out in which way it is better than the predecessor, the Freelander, and how it behaves in comparison to the Range Rover Evoque, the sister model. And we'll also take a look at how it actually performs against a BMW X3, Mercedes GLK, Audi Q5 and the Volvo XC60, because we have driven all these cars and can tell you actually where this car is placed at. So it will be very exciting today because we'll also have a lot of off-road scenes to really check out what this car is capable of. Let's start here with the exterior, because this has really dramatically changed in comparison to the Freelander. We now got a rather round design overall in the car. The Freelander was more kind of angular, and the front has the same style kinda as the Evoque. There are just slight differences now to the sister model. They are both on the same platform. It's this LRMS platform. The same platform that has also been used for the Freelander, so the basis kinda remained the same, and this is still a platform that is derived from the Ford Aegis. So this one platform also says that the first one is theoretically front driven, and then there's also of course the all-wheel drive versions. You see that in the headlights here, the Evoque is a little bit flatter, and so it looks a little bit more aggressive, has more of the city style. Here we got broader headlamps and it more conveys this kind of off-road style. However, the basic front grille is, well, kind of the same. Maybe in the Evoque it's a little bit steeper then. Then we also got an introduction of a sub-brand here with the Discovery, because it now leans onto the bigger Discovery model and forms an own kind of sub-family inside the Land Rover range. And then of course the lower part is also a little bit different to the Evoque. But of course, if you just look at them from the front, well, you can maybe, if you see them for the first time, think, oh, there's an Evoque coming, but no, it's the new Discovery Sport, and you just read it here. So mainly watch out for the headlamps. I think there you really see the difference. But more you see in the side profile. .59 in meters, so perfect compact SUV size, and there you also see that the side profile is really different from the Evoque one, because especially here the C-pillar is in the color of the vehicle. The Evoque, it's all black in here, so you have a different silhouette. Also the window spaces are actually higher, so this one is more for the space inside and also for the comfort for the passenger, that you have a good view from the inside to the outside. There the Evoque is not that practical, actually is more leaned on to styling. Well, and then if we continue in the rear, there's a completely new setup. So in the rear we got these special new headlights here, and they got kind of this robot style here a little bit, especially when you see them on. You see it's also split here from the hatch. It's a very interesting concept actually, and this is really completely different to than that one of the Evoque. I think overall it looks like a kind of more evolved car, because everything fits to each other. It's kind of like a, so to say, a round concept. Or what's your opinion on that? Really looking forward to your comments. What you especially think about the comparison Evoque to this one. Well, why I'm comparing it to the Evoque? Because it still got the same technical basis, but it's actually cheaper. For example, in Germany it starts at 32,000 euros, and that's really way cheaper than the Evoque. So it's actually a new entry to the world of Land Rover if you take the Defender at the side, which will not be available anymore quite soon. And here you see, by the way, also the Sport logo. You see we got a lot of dust on it already because today we went off-road already and go to some more off-road trails again. Special tour here on Crete with a Land Rover experience that will be very exciting. So this is the basic overview in the exterior. I think it's kind of completely new in this segment as well to introduce this kind of style. Well, maybe not in the front because we know that from the Evoque, but you know, it's a different concept. This one should really attack now the other premium compact SUV cars. But will this actually be possible? I think we'll find out with the interior, with the quality level there, and also from driving. By the way, here we got the 19-inch alloys. They're from serial production with the HSE luxury level. It's a top trim level. And optional with the HSE level or with others, because in HSE, the second highest trim level, you get 18-inch from serial production. So in a small engine overview, you'll be surprised how the engine looks like, because we're here on the Land Rover Adventure Tour in Greece, starting at the Dias Cove Resort, and we could take roads that actually no one else were allowed to take, and this leads to that real dusty engine now. That's the real deal, guys. So, by the way, hydraulic dampers check from Autogefühl check here. And this one here is the 2.2 liter diesel. We already know that one from the Freelander and also from the Evoque. It's available in this one 190 horsepower style, and also available in the smaller one 150 horsepower. Combined with a 6-speed manual transmission or with the 8-speed automatic gearbox from ZF, which is, I think, one of the best there is right now on the market. Then there's also a petrol engine available with a 240 horsepower, recently also combined with a new 9-speed automatic gearbox from ZF. That could actually help, because this petrol engine before really had very high consumptions. Maybe it's better now with the new gearbox. And then it is all actually available right now, quite fresh on the market. There will be a new 2-liter diesel from the new Ingenium Jaguar Land Rover line. These ones are actually completely new engines. These ones here, the rather old world diesels and also petrol engines, are mostly derived still from the Ford area, so have this Ford engine background. And the new Ingenium engines actually say they should consume less and still have the same amount of power. In this case, a 2-liter diesel will also have 150 horsepower, but is supposed to consume a lot less. And I'm really looking forward to this engine. Also, for example, the new Jaguar XE, because really interested how these engines, the new ones, will perform. But so far for driving it today with the classic 190 horsepower diesel. Let's now take first a general overview of the new cockpit here in the Discovery Sport. First of all, you got a very soft steering wheel. You got this one actually with the higher trim levels. It reminds us also of the service we get in the F-Type, and also these instruments here on the steering wheel. Well, I think they are not the best one, but they are similar to those also in the F-Type, and you will also find similar ones in most of the other new Jaguar Land Rover cars, for example also in the XE. One very neat feature is here that we got a heated steering wheel. It's very good that it's available here, but it's of course optional. Basically there are the trim levels in like going from up till down. Top one is HSE Luxury, then it's HSE, then SE, and then there's also a basic trim level with S. Well, what can I say? Actually, I would go for a rather low trim level to keep the price low with the car, because if you pick the HSE luxury level and maybe with a strong diesel, you get to price regions where you can maybe even move up class, so you have to watch out for that. This one here, what you see right now, is the HSE trim level, so the second highest trim level. We already got the leather seats in here, we'll take a look at them quite soon. And we can pick also, for example, you see it here and here, there's, I would guess it's artificial leather on the dashboard. That's very nice, just from the visual side. Without contrast stitches, it's stitches in the same vehicle color, but it's very good that the dashboard is still in black, because that reduces reflections just from the window. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, we got the heated windscreen here. It's also optional and of course good for winter times if you don't have a basement garage and so on. The central instruments, just to say from a basic overview, we'll also take a look at them very soon in detail. Just from a basic overview, they also remind us of some kind of sports car, also remind us of the F-Type. So they bring this kind of sporty atmosphere in this car. I think it doesn't quite fit to the car because it's, well, it says it's Discovery Sport, but it's actually not very sporty, and it doesn't have to be, indeed. Then, looking at the middle console, it now reminds us of the bigger Discovery, and so this is worth to take a detailed look as well. So on the downside, we see a lot of parts where just hard plastic is used. Actually, the other premium manufacturers have a little bit more look and feel in these details. Let's turn on the ignition, but not the engine, and you see the central instruments. You see what I said, they're quite steep going in there and remind us of sports car gauges. It's actually a quite nice look, but as I said, I think it doesn't really fit to the car. But they're, well, quite classic, quite clear, and in the middle you can see, for example, the consumption. Right now we've driven the tour with off-road and on-road, and it's at 8.3 liters per 100 kilometers for this 2.2 liter diesel, 190 horsepower. Then let's move on to the central console. We got an additional GPS device here, so sorry for that, because you know we're on special off-road tours which aren't covered by the normal central screen here, so that's an exception here today. What you can see that we got a new infotainment system here, also got some dust here because of the off-road tours, but that's of course special for today as well. You see it's a new screen here with a touch, 8-inch, and you see the reaction times are way faster than they have been before. For example, here now for the climate control, I can change it where the vents should coming. And you see it's working quite fast. By the way, there are also hotkeys for that in the lower part. The hotkeys up here actually are for the home button that you get to the central screen. You mainly use these four here. For example, for your Bluetooth connection or for the GPS. The other ones which are hidden here are, well, not for everyday using. Here you can change the color of the ambient lighting, by the way. It's included in the higher trim levels, or you can pick it optionally. It's a quite nice feature, but of course also not from serial production. Here, by the way, you can always pick the rear view camera, and it actually also works when you're driving quite fast. Haven't seen that in a car so far. And here on the right side you got the hotkeys also for the telephone and for the audio control. Actually, there are hotkeys for everything you can see here. Then let's move on to the new GPS. There you just see the basic overview. Well, here, because we are also not inside the city, you can't see too much. Let's just zoom in and out and watch the reaction time here. We are still on Crete. We can show you where we are. That's actually island of Crete, more on the eastern part here. And actually we've seen GPS systems that react slower, so they have also improved that run in comparison to the other models they offered. Let's move on to the lower part. You see this is inspired now by the bigger Discovery brother and also by the new Jaguar design type, that you have these turning knobs. They also feel quite good, and it's a nice visual feature that you got the temperature be hidden behind a small glass here. It looks quite good actually. The overview of all the buttons is, I think, not too well done. For example, I don't quite understand why there's still button for the most feature. It's good that we also got a separate button for the seat heating, for example. But what I don't really understand, why can you just choose a climate control then? Well, you push that one once and then you have to use a touch screen above. And I think that could have been solved in a different kind of way actually. Then there are also the different off-road programs, all works electronically. In the most cases you just need the standard program here on the left. Here you can, for example, pick the program for like marble rocks or also for snow. That reduces, for example, the throttle input, that you don't have so much wheel spin. Then if you pick the program for mud and wood terrain, that actually deactivates the DSC, for example, when you, like in situations where you have to have wheel spin. That happens from sometimes to off-road. And then there's also this kind of desert mode for sand, and this actually increases the throttle input that when you really need that power. And of course some other electronic things are controlled in this kind of way. It always helps the drivers, but you don't really need them totally necessary. And there's a hill descent control. I will explain that one later on when off-road driving as well. So let's take a look at the rear view camera. You see, it's actually angled downwards a little bit. So you can see then there's someone approaching. These lines, by the way, they switch depending on where you steer actually. So if you steer right, they also switch right and show you in which direction you're actually going. And the outer lines, they symbolize how broad the car really is. And then you can check out how close you get, and you also got the acoustic signals to see it. Actually, the resolution could be a little bit better, and I would prefer it if it's angled up a little bit upwards, and I can also see what's really behind me. Now it's more like, you know, that I don't touch anything behind me. So usually I prefer rear view camera that's a little bit looking up. By the way, if we look down into the drive selector from Land Rover, you know, we also know it from Jaguar, a little bit dustier now from our off-road scenes. I love this drive selector because it's just a very good haptical feeling, and also switching to D and then back again to the R, to rear view. Actually, it's quite fast, you know, you can get along with this. It's actually faster when you just use this drive selector, instead of a, you know, a classic shifting lever. This one is, I think, better in my opinion. And it also got this nice action again, that it's actually going inside and hiding, looking very classy. When you turn off the engine and when you turn on the engine again, it lifts up and says, hello, here I am. So then let's look at the seats. So I get in the co-driver seat. By the way, the door sound, I think it's, well, quite good. Also the door handles are quite solid, so a good impression there. Sorry. Then let's look at the seat here. This is the leather option already, but it's not the highest leather option. With the HSE Luxury, you get an even softer and finer leather. This leather here is not that soft actually, but it also has advantages because you stick on it not that much when you're sweating as with a very soft leather. But in general, I cannot recommend this leather, but because you see it's the bright leather now, it's still a new car. Of course, this has been used off-road, but I mean, you don't clean that seat every day. So you really see how it's looking when it's a little bit used already. And I think it looks like it would be like 3 or 4 years old. And that's actually not good in my opinion. Well, with the other softer leather, it looks better at first, but it will also be, I think, even less durable over time because it's a even softer material. I would really go for the fabric seats here. Because, you know, in general, I don't think leather has a good advantage. It looks better, yes, but, you know, the climate function it offers, you sweat on it in summer times and it's cold in winter times. And for this kind of car, especially, I think it's really not needed. So you keep the price lower when you pick the fabric seats. Maybe sometime later this year we can test another car where we also show you the fabric seats of these ones. But the seating in general is quite comfortable. You got this upright seating position here in that compact SUV. So we drove like 8 hours today and I do not have back pain, and I really tend to get some lower back pain when driving in cars for a very long time. And that was actually quite fine. It could be a little bit better suitable for tall people. For example, I don't have too much supports here in the side. And well, the seating area could be a little bit bigger, I think. But in general, that's quite fine. And you have a comfortable ride here. And that's also one of the most important features here of the car. So check out the rear compartment. Very easy in entry here, actually, because it's already quite high. Then you have a lot of space here actually. I still have the driver's seat as I would be driving with 1.86 meters in height. And I got really a lot of space here in front of my legs. And also above my head we still got the panoramic roof here that's optional for 1,500 euros. For example, this price in Germany. Of course that reduces the headroom, yes. But you see, even with the panoramic roof, I still got a lot of headroom. So really a lot of space here. And that is also the main advantage also in comparison to the Range Rover Evoque, because there you can kind of forget sitting in the back as an adult. I can also adjust the head, sorry, not the headrest, the backrest here. I can move it more to the back actually. I have even more space then, but that would more be a sleeping position then. So I preferred when it's a little bit steeper, but it's good that it's actually possible. And then another thing that is also very practical, I can move the front bench. Of course that wouldn't be suitable for me now, but for example now the trunk is even larger, and so I can really decide what do I need for this special ride. Do I have kids in the back and need more trunk, or do I have adults sitting here in the rear compartment and I need more knee space? That's a really good thing here actually. It makes the car even more versatile. So I think one of the main features of the car is really this versatility here in the rear compartment, also in comparison to the other compact SUVs in this class. This one really rates very good in this respect. And finally, let's take a look at the trunk. By the way, this is the key. It's a standard Land Rover key now. This is the optional standalone heating, but you know, it's of course just optional. You can also press the button here to open the trunk. You see it's very well, nice, dirty from all the off-road riding. This is an experience car here now, so it's not standard equipment, so you wouldn't just put the tire actually here in the back. But there you see also how these experience vehicles are used. And well, you see, that's also not that most practical solution here, because the belts here for the 6 and 7 seats have to be removed, that you can actually put this one down. You can see you can really fit a lot of in here, and if you even move the bench forward as I showed you, or just flip the bench totally, then you have even more space. So also very versatile. It goes down even further, of course. So just imagine this wheel wouldn't be here, but that's also a good example of how good you can really use this car for different purposes. You see the space is really used very well, and that's I think another advantage. By the way, we also got some electric supplies here in the rear, and also there are controls for the vents. And as I already told you now, it's a special feature also with this car. Well, which other car does it offer? The Nissan X-Trail, for example, that you can put emergency seats up in here, 6 and 7 seats. Cannot show you today because the wheel is fixed here at the moment, but that's also another good feature this car offers, which is almost standalone in this car. So well, at least for the premium class, it is really standalone then. So, and then I can also close the car, the hatch here electronically again with the key. That's also not always possible. Some say we do not close that one with the key for safety reasons, but here it's also possible. let's talk about riding off-road in the new Land Rover Discovery Sport. That's why we're here actually. So this is the most exciting part in my opinion. Well, you know that basically Land Rover kind of has like stepping up a level car by car in off-road performance, starting with the Range Rover Evoque and the old Freelander, now the Land Rover Discovery Sport. And then above these SUVs you got the full-size off-roaders with the air suspension, and they also got more ground clearance and so on. But here kind of with a basis model and now also the new cheapest Land Rover besides the Defender, the Icon, so the cheapest SUV version, it is already fully off-road capable, and they really paid attention to that. So also from the chassis, you know, it's quite heavy generally, the chassis, so for road riding it's actually not that good and the car consumes more fuel due to that. But keeping that weight and that stability in the chassis is good here for off-road. For example, if you lift maybe one wheel off the ground and then you still can open the door without being afraid that the chassis is kind of squished around. And we are right now here on kind of rocky surfaces here on Crete. Very beautiful landscape, but very bad roads. You cannot really talk of roads here. So really huge rocks and marbles here on the ground, and you have to watch out that you don't hit a rock that is actually too big. Of course, we do not have the air suspension here, as I said, so the off-road riding comfort is not that comfortable than in a huge off-roader where you kind of roll around a little bit more softly, so you get more feedback actually from the ground. But still, actually every obstacle is managed and you can't moan about that. So they really built a car that is fully off-road capable and can also go on the road. So it's not this SUV concept that you say, okay, we want to build a street SUV, maybe with some off-road features. Here it's really the other way around. Well, I mean, most people won't use this car probably off-road, but it's of course always a nice feeling and also an image factor in buying this car if you know you can actually do it and will have no problems at all. You see, it's also a little bit shaky here. That's again due to the lacking air suspension, but you have to think about the base price here in Germany, for example, is 32,000 euros for this car, and there you can't of course expect an air suspension. That would be actually too expensive. The only manufacturer offering an air suspension in the compact SUV segment is Porsche with the new Macan. Actually, we got a full review of that one as well. I'll also link that one in the video description. And if you also want to compare other cars, also as for driving in the compact SUV segment, we got a BMW X3, Mercedes GLK, and also some other, all linked in the video description here. So I'm keeping my hands as usual for off-road driving, not putting my thumbs in the steering wheel, because if the steering wheel would move around quite fastly, then my thumbs don't get dislocated. That's always very important when riding off-road. And the steering, well, actually when road driving, it feels a little bit too soft and somehow a little bit dead. But here when off-road riding, it's actually quite good because you don't have a hard time steering. Also when we go in very sharp corners, we don't have to steer the steering wheel too hard. So the steering ways are actually quite okay, I must say. Not too long, and when you have the soft steering here, it helps you really when driving off-road because it's kind of relaxing and you don't turn around all the time, right, left, and have a very hard time then. And that's especially important when you're on a longer off-road trip as we are here today. See, it gets even rougher, but of course from the outside it looks even better then. Going down a hill now, I either can hold down the brake and do everything manually, but then maybe I'll get in a situation where the rears maybe get blocked or something like that. I can also trust the car with the hill descent control, and I push a button right below here. This is the hill descent control. And then I see a green symbol in front of the instruments. It says HDC. So when I've pushed the HDC button here and I see the green symbol in front of the instruments, I now let off the brake. The car is doing everything on its own. I just keep my hands on the steering wheel and can concentrate on that. And just when I really want to stop to zero, I push the brake now. But it's really a good help because, for example, here when we go downhill for a long time, you don't have to hold the brakes all the time, and the car automatically controls that no wheel is blocked actually. So the hill descent control is a really good feature if you're not that experienced when off-road driving, and also that you can go on a more relaxed off-road ride also when going downhill for a long time. And after off-road riding, let's now concentrate here on the street, because actually this will be the main purpose also of this car. In general, it's not as rough as the Evoque, so this is the main difference. The Evoque feels way stiffer on the road. Here in the new Land Rover Discovery Sport, you have more comfort when riding here also on the road. Right now it's quite plain, so we can also test that. About the steering, as I already said, off-road, it doesn't really feel connected to the road, so you cannot compare it, for example, to the BMW X3, which is maybe the master in this discipline. So it feels kind of artificial as for the steering. But of course, again, on the positive side, it's very easy to steer. So if you don't want to use so much power when steering, that's actually a way to feel comfortable than doing this as well. So let's now go a little bit faster. We feel the car is really rather set on a comfortable experience. See it going right and left also again. So it's not that kind of sporty experience. If you rather want to have sporty, then maybe go for the Evoque. Or there's also a new possibility here. We do not have this in this vehicle here right now, but there's also an adaptive suspension available now for the Discovery Sport, and there you can put the suspension stiffer if you want to go more sporty. So that is also a good option that is being offered now. But in general, they've worked on the suspension. It's also a little bit better than with the Freelander, so you feel a kind of evolution there as well. About the engines, talked about it initially as well. Here we still got the old 2.2 liter diesel with 190 horsepower. It's quite powerful. Yes, you won't lack power at any time, but of course, it's, you know, just from the sound it makes, it's rather like the old diesel still from this derived from Ford. I'm also looking forward to the new diesel, the Ingenium diesel. I think it will consume less and also will be more silent. If you go for the petrol engine now, the 240 horsepower petrol engine, this one might be consuming a little bit less now than in the past times, because it's now connected with the new ZF 9-speed automatic gearbox. And that will also be available for the new Ingenium diesel. So I would rather pick the new diesel engine, because these ones here we got here right now, they are powerful, yes, but they are meanwhile quite old. So I think it's their time for a change. What else can we say about, for example, the sound isolation? I think it's quite good. Actually, we didn't drive too fast here now, I must say. But in general, you got this comfy, high seating position here in the SUV, you got a quite comfortable ride on the street. So I think you can't moan about that. In general, just from the quality feeling when driving, you cannot really compare it to the more expensive competitors. I think they are lacking a little bit there. They, for example, the GLK, the X3, the Q5, also the Volvo XC60, they feel a little bit more premium when driving. But I think it's maybe a good positioning here from Land Rover that they make it a little bit cheaper, as long as you don't put too much extra equipment in it. Because you get a quite exclusive car, you don't see too much on the road with an attractive exterior, and also driving feeling is generally good, I must say. And I must say I also feel more comfortable than in the Evoque. Not that exclusive, because the Evoque has more styling also in the interior, but it feels better when driving, feels like a more evolved car. So it's now come to a conclusion, and by the way, just one more feature here. If I press the close button here, we also got this comfort close here, remote for the windows, so you can lower the windows and also close them. Also quite a nice feature. So what to say about this car? Actually, you can say really a lot about this car in the conclusion. You know, at the beginning of the review, we had different sorts, comparing to the Range Rover Evoque, comparing to the other premium compact SUVs from Audi, BMW, Mercedes and Volvo, and also comparing it to the predecessor, the Freelander. Let's start with the Evoque. Actually, you see you get kind of an equal styling for a lower price and for more versatility and for more comfort. Well, just in the interior, the Evoque is really more beautiful, and also, well, the materials that are used are also higher class. But of course you pay more. But generally, if you just think about it and want to have a rather logical choice when buying a car, you have to go for the Discovery Sport and not take the Evoque, because you get more car for less money here. And as I said, almost the same styling, at least on the outside. So the ride also has become more comfortable than in the Freelander. But basically, I felt that the changes are not that great actually. The exterior has dramatically changed in comparison to the Freelander. Yes, some might like it, some maybe not. I also want to hear your comments about that one. But if someone would have told me this is an extensive Freelander facelift, I couldn't deny it. So, because technically it's the same basis there, and of course they have improved a lot of things, yes. But I think the last Freelander, as it was also quite evolved, was also a quite good car, and so it is here as well. Then let's look at the other premium manufacturers. I think there's still a gap to Audi, BMW and Mercedes in the compact SUV segment, and also to Volvo, as for example the suspension, comfort and also the look and feel in the interior. So I think they still have to work on that, but they are probably also on a good way there. I think that will maybe change when there will really be an all-new platform to these compact cars here at the Jaguar Land Rover. So, but of course you also pay more than for the Audi, BMW and Mercedes. Not that much more for the Volvo. I think that's also kind of a ladder here, where you see the Discovery Sport, then the Volvo XC60 and then Audi, BMW and Mercedes, which are kind of all at almost the same price. And so the positioning of the car is still quite clever, I think, because there you can say it's kind of an entry to the premium SUV market in the compact segment, where you don't have this kind of involvement like with the other German premium manufacturers, but still got a premium feeling, but not for so much money. And that's also the reason I explained it earlier, why I won't go into the top trim levels there, because you then could either pick, for example, the real Discovery, the big Discovery with Land Rover, or also go with the even more premium feeling SUVs in the compact segment from the German manufacturers. So I think we've given you now an extensive overview here of the car, from the exterior, interior, driving experience on-road and off-road, and also how to see the car actually in the market itself. I want to hear your comments on these thoughts as well as always. This is Thomas here from Autogefühl, your #1 resource for the in-depth car reviews. We'll have a lot of fun with you today here, and I hope you did as well. So see you next time. Bye.